Welcome to Upvoted, No Sleep, where OP Blair Daniels writes. I first noticed it in a Walmart parking lot. The kids had too much energy, so we went for an evening Walmart trip. As we walked back to the car, I noticed one of the streetlights in the far corner, blinking on and off. There's something about blinking street lamps that's inherently creepy. I don't know why. Maybe because we're evolutionarily designed to be afraid of the dark, and blinking streetlights often go out. Or maybe it's because of the stop-motion effect. There's a reason why haunted houses use strobe lights all the time. In any case, I found myself staring at it as we helped the kids in the car. And that's when I noticed something was off. As a car drove by on the main road, the streetlight blinked off, and there was something there that obscured the red tail lights for just a split second. It happened so fast, I thought I imagined it, especially when the light blinked back on an instant later, and there was clearly nothing standing under it. I didn't think much of it and got into the car. As we pulled out onto the main road, I glanced back at it. It was still flickering, and something about it sent a chill up my spine. We pulled out onto the road, and the light disappeared from view. The kids went right to bed, and my husband and I were unwinding in the living room. I was flipping through pages on my Kindle when something caught my eye. The lamppost outside our house was blinking on and off. I walked over to the window. "What's up?" Charles asked behind me, when I'd been standing there a few minutes. "The light's flickering." "So?" "There was a streetlight flickering in the Walmart parking lot, too." I turned to him. "Isn't that weird?" "Not really." We went back to his snacks. Pushing out the uneasy feeling in my stomach, I started to turn away. "Wait." I turned back. There was a light on in the house across the street, but when the lamppost blinked off, the black edge of the window wasn't quite straight. I squinted at it. There was a bump or a curve, almost like a semicircle, that was poking into the golden square of the illuminated window, like something was standing there, partially blocking out the window's light. Except nothing was there, because the shape disappeared every time the light blinked back on. "Charles, come back over here." "Do I have to?" "I see something weird. I don't know." I glanced back at him and frowned. He was leaning back in the recliner, feet up, stuffing himself with chips. "Please come over." All right. He heaved himself off the couch and came over. I described the curve to him, the little sliver of silhouette I was seeing. "I don't see it." "You don't see it?" He shook his head. "There's nothing out there, Becca." I squinted again into the darkness. Then I gave up and settled back in with my book. Something woke me in the middle of the night. I rolled over and tried to go back to sleep, but then I heard it again. A distinct thump coming from somewhere in the house. "Charles, I heard something," I said, shaking his shoulder. But I didn't wait for him to wake up. I flicked on the hall light and ran to the kids' rooms. My son, thankfully, was sleeping soundly. I leapt for my daughter's room and stopped dead. In the crack under the door, I could see a flickering, bluish light. I grabbed the doorknob and burst inside. The nightlight, it was blinking on and off erratically, casting the entire room in jerky, stop-motion flashes. I ran over to the bed. Thank God my daughter was there, sleeping peacefully. I glanced back towards the hall to look for Charles. I froze. There was a dark shape in the corner of the room. I could only see it for a moment, when the nightlight flickered out. As soon as it came back on, the corner was empty. My heart pounded in my chest. I stared at the corner. Off, the shape was there. On, it wasn't. Off, the shape looked like someone crouched in the corner. On, it looked closer. Off, oh God, it was closer. On, the intervals were getting longer. I was paralyzed. My breath was stuck in my lungs. Off, it was halfway across the room. On, the light blinked on, remained on. That didn't give me comfort. I couldn't see it. It could be anywhere. It could be right in front of my... Off. I screamed. It was right in front of me, filling up my entire vision. I backed away, putting myself squarely between my daughter and me. Click. Yellow light filled the room. Becca? Charles stood in the doorway, bleary-eyed. I glanced around wildly, but the room was empty. The nightlight was still off. I leapt forward and pulled it out of its socket. It clattered to the floor. Then I began to sob as I told Charles everything. The next day, the whole thing seemed ridiculous. What? I really saw some figure huddled in our house that disappeared in the light? It made no sense. It was much more likely that I'd seen some sort of sleep paralysis demon, or my half-asleep brain misinterpreted shadows, or something. But when I went into my daughter's room later, something caught my eye. 3 coarse, long black hairs laying on the carpet. And now, as the sun is setting and the deep shadows of dusk are filling the house, I'm terrified to turn on any lights. And that was an upvoted No Sleep story by O.P. Blair Daniels. If you'd like to read more from Blair Daniels, check out her book, You Can't Hide, on Amazon. Sweet dreams.